flies right out of my pants. Don't you know I got a little secret? It's the ace of hearts up my sleeve. And when I get home to my honey, she give me love like you wouldn't believe. Yeah, they call me Mr. Lucky, and I thank my stars above. You can call me Mr. Lucky, 'cause I'm lucky in love. When I'm walking through my neighborhood, everybody knows I'm feeling good. See me smiling from my head to my feet. They say, ain't that Mr. Lucky coming down the street? Hey, that's me. I'm Mr. Lucky when you kiss my lips, when you touch me with your fingertips. I'm Mr. Lucky when you hold me tight. I'm Mr. Lucky when we kiss goodnight. Baby, they call me Mr. Lucky, and I thank my stars above. You can call me Mr. Lucky, 'cause I'm lucky in love. Call me Mr. Lucky, and I thank my stars above. You can call me Mr. Lucky, 'cause I'm lucky in love. Call me Mr. Lucky in love. Call me Mr. Lucky in love. You know that's right.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What's shaking on your hump day? As usual, we here at the Tom Gully Show hope you're getting the full, total, and complete amount hump that you so rightfully deserve and you so desperately crave. Yeah, happy hump day. And without any further ado, let me tell you about Phineas Gage. For those of you who don't know, it was way back there in September of 1848 that a man named Phineas Gage was putting in a hard day at work, just directing a work gang that was blasting rock to make a roadbed for the Rutland and Burlington Railroad south of Cavendish, Vermont. You know, like you do. And blasting through rock to clear a path for the railway was a dangerous, if not simple, process. First, you just drill a hole deep into the rock, and you throw in some blasting powder and a fuse. You tamp it down a few times with some sand or clay, light that fuse, and boom! Rock explodes. You sweep up the rock and boulder pieces, and then you lay a track and you move on down the line. Well, that is just exactly what 25-year-old Phineas Gage was doing around quitting time. It's about 4:30 p.m. on that day, and everybody had to be thinking about knocking off and heading home. And that's, as the people on the British History Channel say, is when the unthinkable happened. Distracted by some men working behind him, Phineas turned his head, thereby accidentally putting his head in line with what we call the blast hole and, most importantly, that tamping iron. As he opened his mouth to speak, the tamping iron sparked against the rock and the powder exploded rather than going off with a fuse, which would allow everyone to take cover. Instantly, the tamping iron, just over an inch in diameter, okay, and over 3 feet long and weighing over 13 pounds, exploded out of the rock, entering the left side of Phineas's face, moving upward from the lower jaw and continuing upward outside the upper jaw, fracturing the cheekbone, heading behind his left eye, and as you can see in the handy diagram, up through the top of his skull, fracturing his cheekbone, of course. Yeah. Believe it or not, that's when things just start to get, pardon the pun, mind-blowing. Jack Hanna-Barbera likes my sweater. Thanks, Jay. Positive Patriots here says, hey, Tom. Paz also says, is this part of the minor story from yesterday? Nah. This is way worse than that. After this happened, the tamping iron, and remember, that sucker is over 13 pounds, okay, landed 80 feet away after going through his head, slathered in something doctors like to call blood and brain. Now, how did our hero, Phineas Gage, react to all this? Pretty much like a rock star. That's how. He was thrown backwards, and like anybody might do after a giant metal spike exploded through their head, had a brief episode featuring convulsions of the arms and legs. But like a trooper, this guy actually started speaking within just a very few minutes, and he sat up for the mile ride in an ox cart to his residence in town. It's at this point, roughly 30 minutes, if you'll excuse me, after that piece of iron made a path through Phineas's head, that Dr. Edward H. Williams, who just was a random doctor in town, discovered our hero sitting on a chair outside his hotel, where he greeted the doctor with what's been called one of the greatest understatements in medical history. When the physician drove up, Phineas said, "Doctor, here is business enough for you." Dr. Williams noted, even before he got out of his carriage, the pulsations in Gage's brain through an opening in his skull that the tamping iron had made on the way out. Top of his head, the brain is pulsating on the top. While the doctor examined him, Gage gave an account of how he was injured to the various people who'd gathered around in a big circle. The doctor, meanwhile, he doesn't believe old Phineas. He doesn't think he's telling the truth or that he's capable of it due to the injury he'd suffered. Naturally, Phineas insisted, as anyone would, that a gigantic iron bar went through his head. No joke, pinky swear for keepsies, right? No, it really did. Really happened. It was at this point, and you might want to cover your kids' ears for this part, that Phineas got up and just hurled, unswallowed. And the act of unswallowing on the porch of his hotel caused about half of a teacup, however much that is, of brain to be forced through the new breezeway in the top of his head, and that fell on the floor. Because, when you hurl, you pressure, and then half a teacup. So there. Let's see here. The Dabble Jew says, this is a medical history story that helped unlock studies of the brain, science, and neuroanatomy. Yes, it is. We're getting that. I knew that. That's why I'm telling, people about fun things. Diana O'Brien is here. She's from Shrewsbury, Shropshire. The Dabble Jew says, hey, great story. Oh, it's not over yet. Anybody who's had to take abnormal psych in college has heard all about Phineas. That's for sure. Phineas's own doctor, a Dr. Harlow, showed up about an hour after the hurling and the teacup of brain and all that. And he was amazed when Phineas recognized him immediately. Phineas, by this time, had been taken to his room, and his bed was just covered in gore, as you might imagine. Phineas was also swallowing a lot of blood due to the fact that it went through his jaw and then through the top of his and all that. So he's just bleeding inside of his mouth, and he's swallowing a lot of blood. No worries, though. No worries. He was puking up the blood every 15 to 20 minutes. So story just keeps on keeping on. Let's see here. What's this person's name? I don't know how to pronounce this. Berscherner says, I'm going to guess half a teacup, 4 ounces. Just depends on what size teacup. Is there a standard size teacup? Because I've seen little teensy, and I've seen, anyway. Yes, Ronald J. Bateman says, I am a stone green host as certified by the NEAS Institute. I got to always point out that doesn't have anything to do with illegal drugs. It's just, ask me, I'll tell you about it. Diana O'Brien says, what an incredible story. You darn tootin'. Let's see here. This is brush and roller. Okay, brush and roller. There we go. Brush and roller. I've got it now. All right. After treating the wounds with the assistant of the other doctor, Dr. Williams, Dr. Harlow made the following notations. Mind clear. So his mind was clear. Constant agitation of his legs. Like you do. Sorry, I got to fix something here. There we go. I think that's better. Constant agitation of his legs, being alternately retracted and extended. So says he does not care to see his friends as he plans on being at work in a few days. It's rock star, man. Unfortunately, Phineas was a little bit too optimistic there. He went through some changes over the next few months. He could recognize his mother and his uncle the morning after the accident. But the next day, he, according to Dr. Harlow, lost control of his mind and became completely delirious. Just couldn't speak, just bleh. On the 4th day, he was rational again, and he knew his friends again. But 12 days after the accident, Phineas was just about comatose. He was seldom answering when spoken to, speaking only in monosyllables. Fungus. Yes, fungus. Yeah, I said it, and it's sort of represented in this photo here. Fungus was pushing out of his eye and out of the top of his head. His breath and his wounds were getting pretty gamey, too. Pretty gamey. So, Dr. Harlow, this is his actual skull here, by the way. Dr. Harlow cut the fungus out of the top of his brain. I don't know if he used hedge clippers or a weed eater. I don't know. And filled all of his wounds with silver nitrate. 10 weeks after being injured, Phineas returned to his home in Lebanon, New Hampshire. He was thinner, more feeble, but able to do some light farm work, some raking, some gardening, some things of that nature. He had memory loss, slight though, nothing a stranger would be able to detect. And after recovering for about 6 years on the family farm, here's a photo of Phineas, by the way. As you can see, his eye's pretty damaged, and that is the actual tamping iron that went through his head. He called it his constant companion because he had to take it everywhere, and people always wanted to see it and act about it. He actually had an inscription put in it as well. He started touring medical facilities and various museums as a quote-unquote living exhibit, being unable to reclaim his railroad job. They kind of said, no, we're good. In August of 1852, about 4 years later, Phineas actually was invited to, here's a callback, Chile, to be a long-distance stagecoach driver, driving a team of 6 horses. And he actually did this for about 7 years, at which point his health began to fail. And a year later, he began having epileptic seizures. He lost his job working on a farm due to the seizures because they were increasing in severity and frequency. So Phineas finally, about a year later, passed away on May 21st, 1860. 6 years later, Dr. Harlow, who'd been completely out of touch with Phineas, made contact with the Gage family, exhumed the skull, and put it on display, along with the fine tamping iron you see that was Phineas's self-named constant companion after the accident. Now, as my good friend, the Dabble Jew, has mentioned, Phineas's case, it was studied very heavily. I'm not going to get into all that, but it was studied extensively by doctors and scientists of the time, and is a hallmark case in brain injury science and exploration of the brain. So Phineas is well known even today because he had a big giant thing go through his head. There we go. We got some things to read. I'm frozen up here for some reason. I don't know why. That's kind of twerking me off. Okay, now we're good again. Let's see here. Incredible story. Kif Dunnage is here. Says, dear Uncle Phineas. Yes. Karen Garvey, nice to see you, Karen, says the brain is approximately 47 to 48 ounces. Phineas only lost 3 to 4 ounces. Not to be optimistic, but the glass is half full at this point. Yes. That being said, this is horrible. It really is. This story is at one part amazing, one part, oh my God. Let's see. Diana Bryan says, sounds of fungi. Yes. And it is fascinating, as Karen Garvey says. The wolf is here. Said, I pulled my car door closed today with my left arm and had some control of the wheel. Awesome. The wolf is making a miraculous recovery from a very, very serious medical issue. So, but I told him he was going to when it happened. Didn't I? Tell him all, Wolf. Tell him how I told you, because I told you. Of course, you told me the same thing right back, so it's not that great. Phineas looks similar to Christopher Reeve. He kind of does, doesn't he? Although there are some differences. Brush and Roller says back when men were men, aren't you the guy that had the giant 13-pound metal rod blast through your skull? Yeah. Why, you got another one? I still got room. Let's see here. Come on now. Slowing down for some reason. Kif Dunnage says Phineas was a hell of a man. He was a hell of a man. Julian Zeezer. I'm hoping you guys are hearing me here, even though this, for some reason, we're slowing down on screen. Julian Caesar says Phineas got himself into Harvard the hard way. Yeah, that's where his skull was on display. I think it still is on display there. And Positive Patriot says, hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, brother. 817-522. No, sorry. God, I'm doing the number wrong. That's the old number. 972-994-6822 is the number to call if you care to, because we're almost out of show today. There you go. Phineas Gage, in case you wanted to know, in case you ever wanted to tell somebody about it. Not everybody's heard the story. It sounds like, as usual, my audience is very intelligent, and so some of them have heard the story. One thing I'd like to point out before we get off the air today, on my YouTube page, from New Year's Eve of 2019, I think. Could be 2020. I can't remember. You'll see it. I did a program called Tomathon on New Year's Eve, which was 8 hours long. And I interviewed 6 or 7 people for an hour apiece. And if all of you could pull that up, I'm not asking you to listen to it tonight. I'm asking you, before you go to bed, to pull it up and hit play and let it play throughout the night. I am about 1,000 play hours over the last 365 days away from becoming monetized. And so it's either people got to come here and watch these shows, or what would be better is if a whole bunch of people just played that 8-hour program. You know what I'm saying? So if you can help a brother out, it would be great. Kim Warfield, we know him better as the Wolf. And when I found out about his dire medical predicament, I told him, as he says, yes, you did say it would be like all the other times people would say it couldn't be done, but I would do it anyway. Gosh darn right. That's what I said. And here he is, Ronald J. Bateman. Yes, I was one of those Tomathon guests. Yes, you were. Yes, you were. Dave Doors is here. Dave Doors, a wonderful member of the Dabbleverse and the Shuley Network. He says, rats, I'm late. I'll watch on my ride to work in the morning. Yeah, and just don't, there's always the Tomathon from New Year's Eve a couple years ago. Kif Dunnage says, not a problem. I'll let it rip before bed. Well, yeah, and also watch the show. I often let it rip before bed too, because I don't want a Dutch oven. Brush and Roller says, give the date again. Well, it's New Year's Eve 2019, I think, but you'll be able to see it. It's a big yellow square that says Tomathon is the one. So Karen Garvey says, what's the date you need the viewing hours by? I played it last night and today. Oh, Karen, you are the best. I don't know. I just go and I check the analytics for the last 365 days, and I need 3,000 hours, and I'm at 2,000 hours. I have no way of telling when. There's no deadline. It's just within a 365-day period, I need 3,000 hours. So Positive Patriot says, lol. I am Magnus says, I don't even know. There are chopped up pickles on there. I'm going to assume that's from some good friends of mine that I've gotten to know from another podcast that's going to have a new episode in 23 minutes, and that's why I'm rushing through this one. Ronald J. Bateman says it was New Year's Eve 2021. So 2020 going into 2021. Brush and Roller says, on it. Thank you, Ronald. Diane O'Brien, I'm sorry if I sound thick, but what does monetize mean, Tom? That means that at the bottom of this chat, when it's on YouTube, people can pay me money to do certain things, like their chat gets highlighted, or I can have memberships to this page, or a number of other things. Brush Miller says it means he can get paid via super chats. I can get the super chats. Yeah. Like if we ever get like a lot of people watching this show, like that's what we're gonna. Sorry, I almost said it with a straight face. And you wanted to make sure that your comment got read, you would be able to donate a small amount of money, and it would pop to the top of the list. In your case, Diana, you would need to do that. I will always read your comments. And as you know, Diana, I have had a long-standing policy of not wanting to make the show. I don't want people to have to pay to watch this because I really am fundamentally committed to the fact that people shouldn't have to pay to watch this, and that let's face it, who would pay for this? Nobody's going to pay for this. Dave Dorr says, ask Shuley how to buy the hours. According to John, he buys everything. Oh yeah, he's a bot. I'll get the bots to watch it. Ronald J. Bateman says something to the other guy. Karen Garvey says, at Diana O'Brien, Tom can focus his attention on this podcast. Kind of. I don't, Karen, you're a wonderful person. However, I don't think my attention's ever been focused. The only thing I've ever had to monetize this program is for a while we had a sponsor. And mostly it's the merchandise store. Because I figured merchandise is like, yeah, you're paying money, but you're getting something for it. You're getting a shirt or you're getting a clock, and I get $2 or $3. That seems like a good deal to me. So there. And actually, Dave Doors has got it. It means it's a tip for the host. It's a tip. It gets embarrassing for me to ask you to leave the money on the table while I'm putting my clothes back on. Diane O'Brien says, gotcha. Reverend Wild Bill is hola. Hello, Reverend Wild Bill. Karen Garvey says that's a great way to put it. It really is. It really is. The Wolf says you need the puppy pad sponsor. I mean the poopy bag sponsor, Ranger Rob's poopy bags. Yeah. There we go. Positive Patriots, just please make sure not to forget us little people. Never. Julian Zezer says, familiar with the story of the Thai soccer team that was trapped in the underwater cave, similar in some ways to the Chilean miner saga. Very much so, Julian. And I would like to also point out that question had the word soccer in it. So, of course, I know the answer to what happened there. And Reverend Wild Bill, a long time, like Diana and others, follower of the show, great merch quality. The quality of the merchandise is really super good. Or I wouldn't do it. I want you guys to get ripped off. The Reverend and the Wolf exchanging glances and waves. And Dave Dorr says, put your clothes back on. I'll sleep good tonight with that picture in my head. Well, you know the whole thing. Just leave the money on the counter. Just fastening the waistband back up. So anyway, that's about all we got here this evening. I hope you enjoyed the story of Phineas Gage. I hope you can put the Tomathon up and we can march toward monetization. Oh, I forgot. Yes, Ronald Bateman has the Tom Gully Ringer t-shirt. Is it standing up? Are the kids at school telling you how cool it is? Is it working out for you? The Wolf says it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It really is. Brush and Roller says, found the 8-hour vid. Will roll it during sleep. Although if it's super interesting, going to blame you tomorrow during work for lack of sleep. Please do. Episode idea. Talk about when AIDS used to be called grids. We might do something on that. I mean, well, I'll do really any historic pop culture type of issue. One at a time. We'll knock them all down. I don't even know what tomorrow's story will be. It'll come to me. But just things that people have maybe sort of forgotten about or maybe didn't know to begin with. Let's see here. We've got Ronald Baton. I have a very large collection of shirts. JJ is mad when I bring it up. Oh, yeah, JJ McCartney. I hope he never calls in here. I think he's mad at me still. Wouldn't you think so, Ronald? I think JJ is still mad at me. Reverend Wild Bill says, won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please, won't you be my neighbor? My neighbor. So anyway, I think that's going to do it. We're going to stick a fork in this one. I guess the only thing left to say here this evening is, well, till next time. Oh boy, I got another quote here. This is about JJ McCartney. He was in the hospital last time I checked. His wife served divorce papers after a heart attack. Wow. But weren't we getting inklings about him and the wife not? I mean, I think, wasn't she not real pleased about the fact that he had left whatever job he had? Didn't he work auto parts, or I forget what he did, but didn't he stop all that to start doing his radio show, which I don't think he ever figured out a way to make. I think there was one point where he was actually doing pretty well with that, and then the bottom fell out on it or something. Or did somebody got sick? I don't remember. I can't keep up with JJ McCartney other than he's not very happy with me. Diana Bryan said, weather's getting quite crisp here. Now makes it more Christmassy. You got that right. Ronald Bateman says, yes, he's a mess. Well, that's probably the best summation I've heard in a long time. And with that being said, I think the only thing left to say after what's going on here today? What in the Sam Hill? I think the only thing left to say, by the way, let's get the proper perspective. I think the only thing left to say is, till next time, we'll see you next time. Right out of my pants.